This is the second video that I'm going to post for our chapter 10, section 1 work. This one is going to focus on specifically different types of circles and different tangent lines that we can draw between the circles. And again, I filled in as much of the definitions and examples as I could for you to be able to see them. So for these examples here, hold on. We're going to be first identifying the fact that in a plane, there can be two different circles that intersect at 2 points, at 1 point, or at no points at all, which should be pretty intuitive in the sense of, depending on how you draw the circles, that could happen. A tangent circle is when they are coplanar. So if we think back to our definitions earlier in the year, coplanar means that they're going to be on the same plane. So if you have circles on the same plane, they intersect at 1 point. Also think back to our definition for tangent in the last video. It was the line or segments that intersected it at 1 point. So tangent circles obviously only intersect at 1 point. And I just lost a picture. There it is. So see how in these examples here, these circles are tangent to each other because they only intersect at 1 point. So that's one example. And these circles here are also tangent because they intersect at 1 point. So they can be drawn in different ways to create the same definition. For concentric circles, they are again coplanar, so they are on the same plane, and they have a common center point. And I only have one example for that because this is what all of them would look like. This image right here are concentric circles, and notice they have no points of intersection with each other because how could they? This inner circle could not intersect this outer circle and still share the same center point. So it's pretty much like drawing a bullseye, different circles around the same center. When circles have a common tangent, that can mean that a line or a segment is tangent to two coplanar circles. So think back to when we looked at the first video, we looked at the tangent, segment, and line. That means it intersected it at 1 point. That same line can intersect two different circles, each of them only at 1 point. So if it was an internal tangent, it intersects the segment that joins the centers of the two circles. And that definition is kind of confusing, so I have an example to show you. This is an example of common internal tangents. So we see line Q intersects circle A right at the bottom right. And then if it continues through, it intersects point B in the upper left. And what I like to think of, it's internally drawn between the two circles. So it goes in the middle of them. P is also the same thing. It goes down, intersects point A right around, or circle A right around here, and continues downward and intersects circle B somewhere down here as well. For external tangents, they do not intersect the segment that joins the centers of the two circles. So what that means is if I drew a line attaching the centers of the two circles, it won't go through it. Whereas these internal tangents, if I drew a line between the centers of the two circles, obviously those two lines cross over it. So what I like to think of for external tangents, since again that definition is a little confusing to me, it attaches the two circles outside of them, not in the middle of them like the blue lines on the left. So line L is outside A and B, and it intersects them each one time on the top of them. And line M does the same thing. It's outside of the two circles, but it intersects them on the bottom of each. So if that helps you more so to see like outside, external, internal, inside, that's kind of my point of reference when I look into drawing these different tangent lines. So when it comes to drawing or identifying them, you will have to do that for your homework. It will give you two different circles that either intersect at 1 point, like these do here, or they don't intersect at all, like these two circles, or possibly they have 2 points of intersection. You're going to have to draw the different lines of tangency from them. So for part A, I have the answers on these notes, so if you already looked ahead, you would have seen them. I want to figure out how many common tangents the circles have and then draw those. I think it's easy to color code, so if you use blue like I did up here for the internal and red for the external, that's great, but for your homework, I don't have a preference for that. I just want you to write, for example, 2 internal, 2 external. So if I was to be given this example and draw them, what I would do is I would draw a line. Let's see how good this goes. And I could see that, well, if I drew a line here, it crosses through both of them at 1 point, as best as I can. That's one internal tangent. If I could draw another line that's going in the opposite direction, oh, here's the line. doing the exact same thing. So I have two internal tangents already for this example. Now I want to see if I can draw any external tangents like I did in the upper example. And I can see that if I draw a line as best I can again, going this way, that is an external tangent line because it crosses through them one time outside of this line that would intersect the middle. And then I could do the exact same thing on the bottom of those two circles. So if I was to just move this line downwards at a different type of angle, I could see that, again, drawing it to the best of your ability, that I could have a line that does intersect them both at one point on the bottom of these triangles. For letter B, I want to see if I can draw any internally tangent lines. So I can see that if I draw one directly through the middle of them, that would only intersect them each at one point. I know it does look like it is more than once, but it is only one time on each circle. And then if I want to draw an external line, I can see that I have one on the outside. Again, drawing to the best of your ability. And it's probably easier than using a computer because now I just moved a whole bunch of things. There we go. And then if I did that again on the other side, I'm showing you the answers. Well, I guess I can just show you the answers at this point since they're drawn much better than what I'm doing. The other external line would be this one up here, which is what I was going to attempt to draw for all of you quickly, which would be right around there. And then the last one, I noticed that I can't draw a line through the middle because it would be intersecting them at two different points, but I can draw external tangents like the answers that I showed you because I can have one going through the outside along the top of them. Let's angle that a little better. Angle that downwards and a little more upwards. And then I could draw another one going in the opposite direction, downwards more. So that's how your homework is going to go. I would really suggest using this as a reference point and as well as the examples that I gave you. So good luck.